Hi everybody, I'm Andy Murray from WhatCulture.com.
And as a special treat, I'm Adam Cleary from WhatCulture.com. And for your wrestling news today, do you want to know which major WWE star Gallows and Anderson are fishing to come back to Impact? Well, I'll also tell you which AEW wrestler Chris Jericho had never heard of, and the prophecy of 1,000 moons inches closer with the birth of not one, but two star children.
And today I'm going to tell you when the next WWE Draft is going to be. Maybe. Also going to tell you about the ex-WWE wrestler on their way to AEW. And on top of that, WWE have signed 2 former Evolve talents. This is the news. I don't have that level of exuberance on a Monday.
Come on, Andy, it's Monday, sun shining, it's the news. Pew, 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 pew.
Gonna need more Skittles for that, brother. Let's kick things off by talking about the draft. So there was a story over the weekend from Fightful Select saying that WWE had chopped all over the place and they were going to do it in August, they were going to do it in September, they were going to do it here, there and everywhere, but the big global thing is just being a thing all over the place and leaving things everywhere, and it's caused chaos. But we have a new report today from the Wrestling Observer, Dave Meltzer, on the latest, I'm all over the place today, on the latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio. Dave Meltzer's talking about WWE whittling it down to 2 potential dates in October. Now, they haven't made a final decision yet, and you know, plans change is always the caveat here. But October looks likeliest. It sounds like it's going to be a full-on draft and not just one of the superstar shakeups. So the last one of these would have been back in October 2019. So it'll pretty much be a full year. That one was done to kind of freshen things up and make SmackDown feel a little bit different ahead of course, SmackDown moving over to Fox. Wonder if there'll be anything similarly big this time around. It's an interesting dynamic this year, I think, because Bruce Pritchard is writing for both shows. So, like, if this was kayfabed, right, you kind of have Bruce Pritchard sitting there going, I'm going to pick this guy for my brand and I'm going to pick this guy. It will be a crazy mess. Draft's happening, roster refresh, no word on whether or not NXT or anything's going to be involved, but it's probably due.
Yeah, I'm delighted by this because, as we all know, Andy, WWE drafts are the best thing the company can do. They are meticulously thought out, they're logically executed, they are religiously stuck to in the months immediately following them. They lead to nothing but great, non-confusing, linear storytelling. So I'm all in favour of this, personally. I think October's going to be a long old time to wait. You think maybe there was a possibility for them to do them right at the beginning of this global thingy, because then they could have excused some people getting lost in the shuffle and then not appearing on TV as a result. But I just think if WWE have October in mind as sort of being a nice, this is all definitely going to be finished point, and they get everything to just get back to normal, and we start having people back in arenas, if they in their head think that's when that's going to happen, this is great because it gives us, like, I don't know, drafts are the closest we get to a season finale or a season beginning in WWE. They're the closest it feels to, like, there being a definitive end and start of things. So that does feel nice. My actual opinion on that being a reality and things actually being starting again by October is not consistent with theirs, I will say. But regardless, I do like drafts, so I am looking forward to that.
Yeah, they're always fun. We always get a whole bunch of articles and videos out of them as well, so there's that side of it too. But
precisely.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what comes up.
Yeah, speaking of wrestlers,
looking forward to seeing what comes.
Speaking of wrestlers moving from one place to another, now I am going to hold my hands up here. I have not seen Talkin' Shopomania yet. That is my plan for this evening or tomorrow. I did not get the chance to watch it over the weekend. However, I have seen through the medium of GIFs and reactions on Twitter that it looks to be possibly the greatest thing that's ever happened. I don't know if that's fair yet, but back in their day jobs, Gallows and Anderson, as you will know, they returned to Impact Wrestling at Slammiversary not so very long ago. And in an interview with Sportskeeda's Gary Cassidy, they were asked, so, you know, you're kind of buddies with AJ Styles, aren't you? Any chance of getting him back to Impact? Aha. And they said, well, actually, yes, they have been trying to convince him to return to Impact, the company where I think it's fair to say he made his name on the North American stage, certainly, to try and get him back for one last run there. Now, of course, the main caveat with this is that AJ Styles last year signed a new contract believed to be a 5-year re-upper in WWE. Now that, if he went through with it, would take him to about 48, 49 years of age, and he did himself say this would be his last major contract. Now, I don't know about you, Andy, but I think, again, just as the WWE draft is always consistently stuck to and booked, when a wrestler says that's him going to be done at a certain point in his career, I think we can normally take that to be, law, can't we? There's no way AJ Styles is going to leave WWE at 48 and go take a cushy, generous contract over an Impact to see himself out as a part-timer. Is there?
Well, Terry Funk's existence tells us that, of course, every single wrestler retirement is ironclad and can never be broken. So,
yeah, well, exactly.
I think the Good Brothers are in cloud cuckoo land here with this. It would be like a crazy, huge, insane move for AJ to go back to Impact, even for just like a couple of appearances here, there, and whatever. Assuming as well that the Good Brothers are still wrestling by that point as well, because I think Carl Anderson himself is 40. So they're no spring chickens themselves. But shout outs to the Ball Brothers. Talking Shop Mania was... Talking Shop Mania was by all accounts the maddest thing of the year. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm going to see it because it's got everyone talking and it seems like my kind of nonsense.
Andy, come over, we'll watch it together.
Let's do it.
Very much the Gallows and Anderson of WhatCulture's news presenters. Come on, come over.
There we go. I'm on my way, brother. I've got a pack of masks over there. We've got separate sofas. It's going to be beautiful.
Chad
Hand sanitizer.
Sad. That's me. Chad
there
too sad.
I am Sex Ferguson. Anyway, let's talk about Taynara Conti. She's on her way to AEW, so this is kind of random. Chris Jericho has his little YouTube... I always say that, and it's so condescending. I'm sorry. Chris Jericho has his YouTube series, Saturday Night Special. Just blevers a bunch of stuff, has a little fun. But he shed a bunch of new information, actually, on the upcoming Deadly Draw tournament, the women's tag team tournament, which is going to go down on YouTube rather than Dynamite, which is pretty disappointing. But somebody who's going to be in the tournament, a confirmed participant, is Taynara Conti, who was let go by WWE in April as part of the Black Wednesday cuts. She's had quite a tumultuous year, actually. I remember earlier this year she walked out on the company or tried to quit, but they wouldn't release her. She stuck around, technically under contract, but then she was let go in April. Anyway, she's going to be in the tournament. She's going to be paired with Anna Jay, who is a new member of the Dark Order. The last we saw of her was on last week's episode when she was with Brody Lee in the gang at ringside. This came like a few weeks after Abaddon, that zombie, just destroyed her, and the Dark Order came down and let her out. So that's a confirmed pairing. The Nightmare Sisters are confirmed as well. Jericho also said that Diamante and Ivelisse are going to tag up in this thing. So, the situation with like people like Taynara Conti, I think, is really quite interesting to follow, because a knee-jerk reaction from a lot of people is to go, "Oh, it's just someone who is nobody in NXT and all this stuff." But the thing is, you don't know how good someone's going to be until they get like a consistent run on TV and they get a chance to spread their wings and show the full breadth of their abilities. And Conti was used every now and then on NXT, but I think it's fair to say she never had like a long-term program. She wasn't featured in the same way as some of these people. So she could turn up and be a bust, who knows? Or she could turn up and surprise everybody. Now, I always like to think in situations like this that the person is just going to break out and be awesome and set themselves off for a tremendous career, as Deonna Purrazzo has done in Impact since debuting there. So fingers crossed it works out. Adam Cleary, you follow NXT a lot more closely than me, doing the video and the article every single week. What do you reckon?
Yeah, I actually am quite a big fan of Taynara Conti. She's not been on NXT at all this year. I mean, they had her working house shows and dark matches, but pretty much after she tried to walk out on them, that was kind of it. I think the last time we saw her was December, getting beat off Candice, but I'll have to double check with that. I've always been a big fan of her. I thought she was really good in the Mae Young Classic. She was one of these early round people. I thought she looked quite good. She, of course, had that massive WrestleMania moment where all the lasses from NXT binned off all the lasses from the main roster. And I think I may have Mandela syndrome this. You just make up a memory in your head. I'm fairly sure she just pulled a Brazilian flag out of her back pocket in the middle of WrestleMania and did that, but I might have completely imagined that. She's got like a martial arts kind of background, and when she was in NXT, they were trying to lean towards this idea that she could pretty much kick you to death, but then Dakota Kai she got that angle over. I've pretty much spent this year watching NXT, watching Aaliyah, thinking that if Taynara Conti hadn't gone, that would have been her spot. Like, quite janky, but a lot of time on television, a lot of time to improve in the ring. I actually think, if you've not seen her before, AEW fans will be pleasantly surprised by how good she is. I know the sort of low time she had in NXT doesn't really scream, oh, she's going to be amazing in this tournament, but from what I've seen of her, I am actually quite a big fan, so I look forward to this. I'm still disappointed that this AEW women's tournament's going to be, it's just on YouTube, isn't it? It's not even on Dark. I'm quite disappointed by that. However, I think if anybody's going to capitalise on the minutes they're given, it could well be Taynara Conti. But speaking of AEW and people who are going there, and that kind of works as a link, Eddie Kingston, your friend and mine, he has just started in AEW. Of course, he had that match, that TNT Championship match with Cody, and the internet was like, do you know what? You should sign this guy because he's really good. And we obviously know that because we've seen him. We are fans, and all the wrestlers know that because they've seen him and they've worked with him. But you know who did not know that? Andy Murray did not know that at all. Was
it Ted Irvin's son?
It was possibly him, but more prominently Chris Jericho, because not to be like, oh, say it on his little YouTube channel on Saturday Night Special. He admitted that he'd actually never heard of the guy, and he thought when they brought him in, it was actually TNA champion Eddie Edwards who was going to be wrestling Cody, which is quite... Don't get me... This is the thing, right? I kind of admire Chris Jericho saying this because everybody likes to think, oh, I know everything in wrestling. It would have been very easy for Chris Jericho to be like, yeah, followed his career for decades. I thought it was really great to see him finally getting a shot at the big time. But he's just going to hold his hands up and say, do you know what, I had actually no idea who he was. And I was only loosely familiar with him myself until North Wrestling here in Newcastle got him on to wrestle Rory Coyle, and I just stood about 4 foot from the ring and watched as they dropped each other onto VHS players. And I just thought, this guy is incredible. Then at the end, he picked up a microphone, cut a 20-minute promo on himself, on wrestling, on Brooklyn, on the entire history of the industry. And I just thought, this man is incredible. Why am I seeing him in a nightclub in Newcastle with 100 other people? It seemed astonishing to me. So I'm delighted that he's got that kind of platform now. So far in the time he's had in AEW, he has massively already over-delivered, both in terms of what he's done on the mic and what he's done in the ring. And I don't know whether it was Sidgwick or Hamflet that tweeted this over the weekend, but him versus MJF in a promo at some point is going to be possibly one of the best exchanges we've seen in years. And I can't wait for that either.
Yeah, it's going to be absurd. Like, I quite believe that Chris Jericho had no idea. Like, and it's reasonable. It's totally reasonable. Chris Jericho has been a high-level, busy-ass WWE wrestler on that road schedule for years and years and years. On top of that, he's busy doing Fozzy. He's doing the podcast. He's doing everything else he does. There's no way that dude is sitting there watching Shakara tapes on a Saturday night. You know, it's just not happening. You've got guys like Chris Hero and Cesaro who will, by all accounts, do things like that. But Chris Jericho is like, he's writing books as well, man. He's doing all of this stuff. He's a real busy dude. He's a real busy guy. And Eddie Kingston's awesome. Can't wait to see what he does next. Let's roll over to WWE again. Let's talk about the Evolve wrestlers that they have officially signed. This is another report. The first one here comes from Sportskeeda's Gary Cassidy, who's tremendous.
He's been busy, hasn't he? Jeez.
He's a busy boy, isn't he, Gary? Scottish as well, shout-outs. He broke news that Anthony Green has signed, retro Anthony Green has signed with WWE over the weekend. Little bit of background on this fella. He's 26. He's best known for his work in like the Northeast Indies, like Beyond and so forth. But he'd been in Evolve since December 2018. He actually put Mansoor, of all people, over on the last Evolve show in March. He's an up-and-coming guy, bit of charisma, good sleazy heel act. He'll be interesting to follow in WWE. The other chap who is signed is considerably more well-known to WWE fans because he's been on TV since March. It's Leon Ruff, 24 years old, previous Evolve Tag Team Champion with, I almost said AJ Fox, it's AR Fox, the highest flyer, of course. He's been on WWE TV doing jobs. He's looked really good as an enhancement guy, just getting his ass kicked. If there's anything WWE fans have learned about Leon Ruff so far, it's that he's good at getting his ass kicked. But WWE uploaded like a 3-minute clip of like his career with his partner, who is an NXT referee. So there's a cool little link up there. There's apparently going to be more Evolve wrestlers to come as well. Apologies, the Leon Ruff story came from PW Insider. Get your sources, Andy Murray. But yeah, 2 guys in the door, maybe more to come. Makes sense. They bought Evolve out. Evolve is no longer a thing. Those wrestlers are cast adrift. Some of them will be looking for jobs, and there are probably a few who can offer a fair bit.
Yeah, Leon Ruff, let's not forget, his first 2 matches in NXT were against Karrion Kross and Tommaso Ciampa. So, like...
Yeah. It's not an easy run.
You know what I mean? Like I get squashed in that circumstance. I don't mind saying that. Evolve is obviously the relationship between WWE and Evolve is well documented, and it is sort of proving to be a bit of a fruitful feeder club for them at present. I'm reliably informed that's where Everrise came from. And well, long-term fans of NXT ups and downs will know precisely what I think about bringing people like Everrise and whatnot. They do a good job. God bless them, even if nobody's particularly, interested. That's it. So, yeah, good for these guys. There's a lot of opportunity currently in NXT. I know we're very sort of downbeat about the whole ongoing global bastard situation, but it is opening doors and perhaps creaking open a few windows for people to just get a little bit kind of TV time that they wouldn't be able to under normal circumstances. And I think Leon Ruff is absolutely somebody who's benefited from that. I think, if there wasn't a worldwide issue going on, there's no way he would have wrestled Karrion Kross and Tommaso Ciampa in NXT already. And of course, not to downplay his match with Bronson Reed, which was also very, very good. But speaking of new beginnings, Andy,
whoa!
As you are well aware, the prophecy of 1,000 moons, which is we'll see the Bella triplets eventually cast a spell across the world to take over major governments, major power structures and things like that. Brie, Nikki, and of course Celeste Bella, the secret third Bella twin. All three of them gave birth over the weekend, a day apart from each other. Now, if you know the prophecy quite well, this is of course the second sign. Of course, leaving John Cena was the first one. Thou shalt forsake the power, forsake the neck muscles. Now, the Holy Trinity has been born. So congratulations to Nikki, Bella, and Celestine for these. Now, of course, the only official news, Celestine's obviously quite downplayed, is between Nikki and Brie. Brie and Daniel Bryan, of course, had their second son, and Nikki and, just check my notes here, not John Cena, Artem, they had their first child, of course, completing that long-running storyline from Total Divas, where Nikki Bella really wanted to have a child. So this is great news, isn't it? Great news for the Bellas, great news for motherhood in general, great news for the oncoming Rapture. I'm thrilled for them, I'm delighted. I wish I had more to offer, but these are just other people's children to me.
It's a nice story, isn't it? Yeah, people having kids, good for them, man, good for them. I remember in January when it was like, hey, we're going to have a baby basically in the same week, and then they got inducted into the Hall of Fame. That obviously never happened because the Thing got its tendrils in. But yeah, good for them, man. Happy for them on a human level. Daniel Bryan as well also said that he wanted to, him and Brie only wanted to have 2 kids. So it's nice to him to have a lad and a girl. He's completed the collection. Cool. I don't really know what to say about babies, to be honest. Let's move on to the Twitter questions.
I hope they're not about babies.
Hey, they most certainly are not. We've got one here from Sean Acklin, thank you very much, legend, who asks, it looks like people are starting to find new homes after Black Wednesday. Who do you guys think is doing the best so far, and who do you want to succeed the most? I think Deonna Purrazzo rebounded quickly, and hope Matt Cardona shines in AEW. I mean, Deonna Purrazzo is kind of the obvious option for who's doing the best. I mean, she's the Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion, and she won it within a month. She's doing great. As far as the second part of that goes, who do you want to succeed the most? Again, on a human level, MJ Jenkins is not the biggest name, but her brother-in-law died literally just a week or something before she was released as a result of the ongoing global bastard. That is a horrible amount of misfortune to fall on one person at once. So I'm hoping she gets something soon, because no one deserves that crap. It's rubbish.
I think in terms of current successes, I think it's hard to look past Gallows and Anderson after the weekend. They've kind of turned the whole thing around. They've turned up back in Impact. They're doing their own thing as well on the side. They look to be delighted with all this. But I think if we're talking about who's doing the best, Andy, it would be remiss of us not to point out the heartwarming success story that was Drake Maverick. Because, of course, he was fired for real in all of this. They let him go, and even though we cut that tearful promo, which was kind of in kayfabe, it was definitely 100% for real, he'd been let go. But of course, the outpouring of emotion exclusively for him and for nobody else forced WWE to reconsider what they were doing, and not only to keep him in the storyline he was already in, but to then offer him a contract on the show at the end of it. So I just think if there's anybody out there who inspires hope that we can persevere through all of this and things will work out, it's got to be him.
I agree. Our other question today comes from Matt at Block Wesner. I like it very much. Elmer Fudd. Who asks, would you rather watch a 60-minute Iron Man match between Randy Orton and Baron Corbin where the RKO and End of Days are banned? Are you a sadist? Or listen to an hour-long promo by Seth Rollins trying to convince us that birds aren't real?
Genuinely, that's the easiest question I've ever been asked. Of course, I would rather listen to the Seth Rollins promo, because after 5 minutes, can you imagine how desperate that thing would be as he goes round and around and around the 4 pre-assigned talking points he's been given? And let's not forget, once the Baron Corbin-Randy Orton match is finished, it's finished. Once the Seth Rollins promo is finished, you have got months of social media own goals to look forward to about how actually that hour-long promo about birds not being real was really good and you just weren't paying attention properly. And if you actually go back and watch all these other promos on Raw that was being built up to this whole time, and actually if you just pull your head out of your internet fan ass for a second, you would see that the work being done by Seth Rollins in hour-long promos about birds not existing is some of the best we've ever seen in the industry ever, so...
Yeah, I mean, the possibilities are endless. They could get all kinds of... You could get Drew Gulak along with one of his PowerPoints. You could have some wacky animations. You could get Bill Oddie on. That'll be a nice cross. There's all kinds of things you can do with the Bird promo, so I'm going with that. I have no desire to see a 60-minute exchange of chin locks and other stuff that Randy Orton and Baron Corbin do when they can't be arsed. And finally, we're going to head over. Tank Girl has been on. Shotzi Blackheart. Right, so over the weekend, we published a video called 10 Wrestlers with Gigantic Balls. The gigantic was
in all capitals. I noticed that, yeah.
A Twitter user called Caden actually quoted that saying, "Thanks, WhatCulture." And Shotzi Blackheart, who wasn't on the list, caught hold of this and tweeted saying, "This list seems incomplete. They really dropped the ball here." Very good. Leaving out the girl with testicular fortitude. So, because we've had about 7 million notifications about this specific tweet, let's issue a formal apology to Shotzi Blackheart. I am not a Tony Khan impersonator, but if you want, you can run over my leg in your little tank.
Look, I'm not a grass, right? But I am the NXT guy here, and I will just say the ongoing battle I have had to fight with my more learned colleagues about Shotzi Blackheart's tank partner being actually good is long and tedious, and nobody's gonna change their opinion anytime soon. So Shotzi Blackheart, if you are watching this, I would just like to say I've been fighting this tank corner for months now, and it is no surprise to me that one of the Dadleys wrote this list and couldn't see past the fact that actually miniature tanks are cool. So I would just like to say I'm sorry, but what me? I would have absolutely had Shotzi Blackheart in the system. Had it been handed to me for voiceover duties, I would have deleted who's in it, who's entry number 10. Vince McMahon.
Get them out.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. No, hang on. I wouldn't have deleted. I couldn't have deleted Vince McMahon. I should have really signed in, so I didn't have to scroll through all these pages. Not that our model's broken. Jeff Jarrett. I'd have deleted Jeff Jarrett. Who cares? I'd have had Shotzi Blackheart in there in a second. If I find out that Stephanie McMahon's in this list, there's going to be drama on Slack later on.
Oh, she might be, man. She might be. Jesus Christ. Anyway, thank you for joining us, taking care of business, I guess. That's Shotzi Blackheart. You can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE. You can follow Adam Cleary at...
Adam Cleary, Clery.
There we go. You can follow me at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for Herman Heriderson, because why the hell not?
What a fantasy football deep pull that is. The Portsmouth centre-back.
That's the one. Was he Icelandic? I think he was
so.
Icelandic. Yeah, probably. Viking. Bye.